This is just as important or more so than Codex Magica, because that gets into their systems, their signs, television media, their symbols, hand signs they're making. But just to give to people, because architecture they'll see everywhere, I think this is even going to be a more effective book. I'm not belittling the other. That was my favorite until I read this book. Cannot put it down. I plan to make a film, actually, about all this, and I've been working on it for years when I'm in capital cities. And I thought my knowledge was great of this. This totally blew me away. I've not been able to put this down. I've taken it home for the 2 weeks I've had it. It just came out last week. I got an advance copy. Get your copy at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com today, or call toll free to get the new book, Mysterious Monuments. It is a must-read. 888-253-3139. Tex, get into the layout of D.C., then get into the Astors, and then let's go through some of the things the Rothschilds are doing, this Rothschild family painting of them in weird hoods with 6 candles doing a ritual. But then I want to spend a lot of time on their master plan. What do they plan to bring in to get their world government, their chaos to bring their order? How do you see their plan building and then finally failing, or what's the time frame that Tex Mars sees this unfolding in, and what is their end game? I really want to spend time on that. And again, we're very thankful for your time, Tex.
Well, Alex, maybe we should start in Washington, D.C. with a place of worship, the National Cathedral. You know, Pierre Lafont, who was an occultist, and designed the original layout now of the city of Washington, D.C., said that the National Cathedral would be a church for national purposes. Remember, after 9/11, they had a big interfaith ceremony. They had Buddhist Buddhist monk. They had a Muslim imam, and of course, even Billy Graham was there, and the former presidents, and the President Bush and everything. They made a big show of the National Cathedral. Now, I visited the National Cathedral, and I noticed right away the demon gargoyles in stone that wrap around the building. I decided to do some research on the National Cathedral, and I found the newest grotesque or gargoyle, horned devil, and so forth that's gone up is Darth Vader. The Star Wars saga. He's actually in stone. He's looking down on passersby. Now, at first, it's sort of a comedy. Darth Vader, the galactic evil commander. What is this? Is this some kind of a strange? You mentioned science fiction. A number of the science fiction writers are privy to the knowledge as Hollywood directors are. And Darth Vader, remember, he was part of the Dark Force. The Force. Would you believe that the book of Daniel, prophetic book in the Bible, says that the God that they worship in the last days, this Illuminati elite, will be a God of forces, and he will heap up great treasure, gold, money to them. It will not be a God that his fathers worship, but instead the God of forces. Darth Vader, comically as it may seem, is now one of the demonic gargoyles looking down on people. I have a huge picture of him in the book. I think it's on pages 588 to 589. Now, I found out that the bishop, who's the rector of the National Cathedral, is Episcopal, and I have a picture of him in Codex Magica doing the Freemasonry hand sign, where you put your hand under your vest or under your coat, the hidden sign of Jabulon, their god that they worship. But the archbishop who's in charge of the whole Washington, D.C. Area is a man, his last name is Moore, and he was recently outed for being a homosexual. So you can see the kind of people that are involved, and now they're in charge of this taxpayer-funded National Cathedral. And by the way, I have a picture of a devil, literally with horns, in stone, at the National Cathedral, high up. You can barely see him. You need a telephoto lens. The devil's looking down on people from the National Cathedral. But I also show in France. Remember, President Mitterrand would go up to a sacred mountain and pound on drums and communicate with the spirits. Well, at Rennes-le-Château in the Pyrenees Mountains of France, probably where Mitterrand went, I have pictures of the chapel there, a Catholic chapel. As you enter, notice there's a sign in France over the door carved, and it reads, and this is astonishing, Alex, "This place is terrible." Well, right away, you know you're in a strange Catholic church. There's also a skull and bones emblazoned in stone. I have an image of it in my book. But once you go in the lobby, there is confronting you, to the right of you, a black devil with horns. And he's carrying a little basket. And what is in the basket? 2 dragons. Of course, one represents Satan, the other represents his son, Antichrist. This is in a Catholic chapel in Rennes-le-Château, France. And here again we have the satanic Illuminati around the world.
Weren't you mentioning earlier when we hit a break the Astors and their symbol being the dragon?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have a picture on their estate. They have a building, an exterior building, and I believe it must be the chapel where they conducted ceremonies. And there you will see their great emblem of the Astor family. And what is it? Yes, it's a dragon. Remember, even the Ouroboros serpent, the one that swallows its tail, meaning we shall conquer the whole earth. It's really a dragon serpent. And so everywhere you go, serpents, horns, devils.
Now you remember that Anderson Cooper is one of the heirs to the Astors. And then we've got the other one, Tucker Carlson is a heir to another one of the big families, but you never hear that on the news, so it's still these same people in power. Speaking of Catholic churches, you've got a lot of big Protestant ones too. I want to go over some of those. But on page 463, and I'm showing the camera this right now, you have Pope Benedict said Mass at this Illuminous Design Catholic Church in Poland. And I mean, this is an all-seeing eye pyramid with rays coming out and the whole thing. I mean, it is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that is very interesting there on page 462, actually, Pope Benedict saying Mass. And you can tell, look at this church, it looks like something from outer space. It's in Poland. They have a new Catholic church called the Cathedral of the Angels, but it must be the Dark Angels in Los Angeles. It has all kind of satanic symbology to it. And, of course, there are the Protestant churches as well. You know, we mentioned the Episcopal Church. The Church of in New York City, the largest cathedral there is St. John the Divine. And, wow, they actually had a Buddhist statue implanted in the sanctuary for a while, and a statue where the cross and crucifix were behind the altar. They put up Christa, a goddess statue on a cross.
Now, what about
blaspheme Jesus Christ?
What about Oral Roberts?
Well, the whole university, Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is a 33rd degree Mason. By the way, he's always voted Democrat, whether it was Bill Clinton or whoever. He's always voted Democrat, and he is a 33rd degree Mason. And when you study, and I have about 3 or 4 pages of Oral Roberts University, you'll find even the praying hands are built in the form of a pyramid. You'll see these monuments that look like praying hands, but the hands are in a strange formation. There's stars, there's circles, there's the sun sign atop the tower. Everything to indicate the Illuminist Masonic nature of Oral Roberts University. I'm sorry to say, even the Oral Roberts University Medical Center is built in that format. In fact, it's sort of a sex sign. I also have a picture of Oral Roberts with Jean Dixon. He was a big friend of the psychic astrologer Jean Dixon and sought her out for advice. Oral Roberts once said that he had the healing power he claimed, because he was part Indian in his bloodline. And he said, the Indians have this special power because they're connected to the earth. Here again we have the god of nature. And, of course, the god of earth is actually this god Poseidon or Neptune, whose statue is on the cover of my book with his horns, with his satanic serpent spitting in front of him. And by the way, there's also, that's the great fountain where Neptune or Poseidon, the god from under the earth, remember, as above, so below, he comes up. The fountain represents the chaos of earth, the chaotic seas. And here comes up Poseidon. This is in front of the Library of Congress. Now, that represents the collective wisdom of the United States people. And does this devil that comes up out of the sea represent America? I don't want it to be so. And I think for the average citizen, it is not so. This is the elite Illuminati that are foisting this on us, Alex.
Well, I was at the National Archives, and the security guards ran out and threatened to arrest us for being there, but it had every religion on earth and every god and goddess, including Satan, but no Christian or Judaic gods. And we were there for about 20, nothing. Sorry, go ahead.
That's true. That's true. There are all these pagan gods and goddesses all over Washington, D.C. I want to make a statement here.
Well, okay, we'll do that after the break, Tex, but I want to come back after the break and get to that statement. But right now, behind the scenes, I want to talk more about the layout of D.C., so we'll come right back with that statement. We'll be right back.